Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a great day and that you're all having a great day. I don't know. Welcome back to the video, and without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Yeah, so optimism is still there in the market. Even if we have some rather weird price days, I would say. Very popular in the news is Cathie Wood. Cathie Wood being famous for a number of years ago buying a lot of Coinbase stock, and then people also started buying Coinbase stock, and then she sold off her Coinbase stock, and people were asking her why she sold the stock that she bought to make a profit from. And people thought a number of years ago, because, you know, unlogic, a lot of people thought that because she was selling off Coinbase stock that she was no longer bullish on Bitcoin, because people don't know how the world works. Cathie Wood is back in the news again. She recently had an interview where she was discussing where she thinks Bitcoin is going. Cathie Wood thinks that the current bull run is around halfway over. For those of you who do not know, the bull run tends to usually begin even before the halving takes place. That's why you saw a lot of the argument that Bitcoin's price was at 12,000, then 15,000, then 17,000. The ETFs launched and we moved back on up to $70,000. It typically takes place normally before the halving even actually happens. So we are currently in the cycle right now. The interesting part is that we normally don't usually see the crescendo until around the last 3 months in the market. So a lot of times you might have seen in the last few months people being like, the bull market's over. That's because they've probably never been through a cycle before. All they see is that the price is going down. They don't understand that this is what always happens every single cycle. There's a bunch of people who buy into the market. The price goes up. There are people who end up selling for a couple of months. Price goes down. The price ends up going back up. The price goes back down. The price goes all the way up. The price goes back down. The price continues going all the way up, and everyone gets really excited. And then the price basically goes down for like over the course of like a year and a half. Gigantic discussions still as to, of course, this is probably never ending at this point, as to where the market's going to go. Cathie Wood reiterated that she is extremely bullish on the market. I just saw another article with someone saying they're actually more bullish than ever, simply because we needed some kind of a retracement in price to maintain the current levels that we have, to show that we weren't going to go any lower, and how amazing this is and that is, and so and so and so. Cathie Wood once again re-said that she is predicting a $1.5 million price per Bitcoin by the year 2030. So not in 2030, by the time we are creeping into the year 2030. She's predicting a $1.5 million Bitcoin. I think this is, I mean, if we can be logical here, this is one of the, if not the most important cycle that we currently have ever been in. Because I think not only, you know, as far as people making money, it's more of a, I think this will bring the point on home to a lot of people that they probably should have acted earlier. That's a personal sentiment, but it's more of a, no one was in Bitcoin when it was around $80. People flew into Bitcoin when it was at $20,000. Bitcoin goes back down to 3,000. Only people who are touching it are the wealthy people who are still accumulating every single day. Bitcoin goes back above 70,000. People pay attention again. And I have a feeling that when we crack 100,000, if we happen to get to a multiple six-figure Bitcoin, that is to say the predictions for this cycle range anywhere from 200, 250, 300. I mean, if you stand with Samson Mao, then you're getting a $1 million Bitcoin, but that's also quite intense. Yeah, so majorly in the news. I think anytime any of these major figureheads says something, they end up being popular. She stated, and I do quote, she said, "So we have 4 people at ARK. who are working on crypto generally. And one of them is dedicated to Bitcoin on-chain analytics. And judging by those, we believe we are halfway through this bull market. Halfway does not mean that we are halfway through the price increase because, at the end of a bull market, prices tend to go parabolically. So we have no idea when that is. If you've been here before, we see now the word is not even moderate. We see very good price increases against all the coins, but you can typically tell when the last 3 to 4 months of the market are, or many people can, because prices go completely insane. It is a very weird feeling. We've gone over that before to see you're just making money for doing absolutely nothing. Anywho, yeah, that's the Cathie Wood, $1.5 million Bitcoin, talking about this bull market and where and when it might end. Also in the news, someone by the name of Hendry has made a prediction for Bitcoin, saying that it could triple in value and pass by the market cap of NVIDIA, which I don't think is going to be that much of a problem anymore, as NVIDIA has been sliding backwards for a little bit right now. In a recent Yahoo Finance podcast, Hendry expressed his bullish sentiment for Bitcoin. He argued that the world where everything seems overvalued, the flagship crypto stands out due to its relatively small market cap. He said Bitcoin's total capitalization is around $1.3 trillion. He stated, saying that it is much smaller compared to gold at 16 to 17 trillion or US stocks at $40 trillion. It's going to be a very bizarre day. Can we be, can we talk amongst ourselves here? If we end up getting to a $5 trillion, $6 trillion, $7 trillion market cap this cycle, it's going to get quite intense for other world markets. If we get to the point where Bitcoin is larger than the entirety of the US stock market, there's so many things happening and there's so many things that we keep seeing. And even for those of you who were missing it, I believe it was last video, whales are buying a lot of Bitcoin. We've gone over that before. Someone was like, yeah, sure. You don't get it. The metrics are all there. They're buying an incredible amount of Bitcoin every single day. And it's nearly genius because they're doing it in a way that doesn't specifically affect the market. So they can kind of basically accumulate as much as they want. But retail investors, everyday normal people, short-term holders, people who've been in the market for less than 6 months, how do I even, whatever, just to end the thought, they're not even in the market right now while all of this accumulation is happening. I'm so interested in seeing what the response is going to be. Imagine we hit a $1.5 million Bitcoin. The general public who kept on talking negatively, there's so many people who don't like Bitcoin, hate Bitcoin. They're going to be angry with themselves for having no Bitcoin. And even worse, at $1.5 million, they're not going to go and actually buy Bitcoin because they won't understand that the price is going to $10 million. Where we are right at $1.3 trillion, if we get larger than the US stock market, everyone holding Bitcoin is wealthy. Even people who just had Satoshis before. I think about a lot of these things when it comes to the growth of this market and where it could potentially go over the course of the next couple of years. Even the idea of a 3x surge in price, for those of you who haven't been keeping track, seems relatively moderate at this point during the course of this bull cycle. That basically puts us a $180,000 to a $210,000 Bitcoin, while a lot of people are expecting a lot more. I won't even get into an NVIDIA rant or any of these other things, but yeah, also speculation is now, it's not in this video, but speculation is now, for those of you who missed it, that the Fed will probably have to lower interest rates in September. The world's market is collectively, all of them, is just not doing good. You'll keep hearing in the news that 1 or 2 stocks are doing pretty well and then they end up faltering as well. There's constantly a narrative that everything is A-okay. Simply because one or two different stocks out there are doing well, but no, job numbers, everything is not doing well. There's still tons of videos, news stories, documentaries of people now going to supermarkets and they can't afford anything. It's like the cycle has to end at some point. So yeah, that's the I guess price predictions or optimism for Bitcoin news. Yeah, okie dokie. Let's move on. Also, in what I personally thought was very, very funny news, the Bahamas is preparing to introduce legislation requiring commercial banks to support their central bank digital currency, which they call the sand dollar. We got news about the sand dollar, I want to say 2018. Once again, around the end of 2017, a lot of different countries were absolutely terrified of Bitcoin. We know this for a fact now. And the reaction was that in 2018, a lot of them kept on saying they were going to ban it, they were going to regulate it, and or they were going to create their own central bank digital currency. We also recently went over this. The idea was that, for those of you who missed it, there was like a government survey or something like that, and the news was governments believed and said that they thought the only reason why people were buying Bitcoin is because the everyday Joe wanted to use digital money. It sounds like a joke. This was the idea. The governments thought people were moving to Bitcoin because we still had paper money. So therefore, an effort to get them to stop using Bitcoin and continue using the dollar, euro, and the yen was to basically digitize the currency. This is not a joke. This is really what they thought. So the Bahamas was, I think the first in the world to launch a central bank digital currency. There was another one somewhere in the Caribbean, I think, as well. And then I believe it was China who also launched theirs third. So what happened is that upon the launch of this, the speculation was that these things were going to begin to take over cryptocurrencies. As these are not cryptocurrencies, cryptocurrencies are open and permissionless and decentralized. And I made multiple videos having to tell people the thing you're forgetting is that these are just digitized versions of the same thing that they have now in paper. There will be no new economic policies except for the ones that already exist, but in a digital manner. The issue across the board, you might have even seen that there are some countries who have delayed and or completely foregone the creation of a central bank digital currency, talking about they're now wanting to make stable coins and or they're stopping it completely because there's no demand for it. The way that it's been explained is that one would assume, let's say you have $3,000 in your bank account. I maybe stupidly believed the idea would be you would create a digital dollar. And you would simply swap over everyone's balance into the brand new currency digitally. You would take all the dollars, like account by account, take out the 3,000, give them 3,000 digital. Take out the 15,000, give them 15,000 digital. No, apparently in many places you have to do the swap yourself. You have to willingly find a way to get access to this new thing and then buy it and use it. So they're introducing legislation requiring commercial banks to support their sand dollar. You have to support it now. And hopefully boost its adoption. It says June 2nd. I assume that time is completely off. In a report from Reuters, John Roll, governor of the Bahamas Central Bank, said that due to the less than ideal uptake of the central bank digital currency thus far, commercial banks are now being told that they will be legally required to distribute the digital money. This is the same thing that happened in China. For those of you who were not here a number of years ago, it was weird because they were literally airdropping it on people. Imagine looking outside and seeing a red balloon with an envelope falling from the sky. They were literally trying to get hype on social media for this thing. They had all these sweepstakes that people were randomly winning. Going on TV being like, I won $15,000 in this new currency. It's amazing. Trying to get the hype to build. And even in China, nobody wants it. It's not something that's needed. And not even from I see a lot of interesting people on Twitter talking about why they don't like central bank digital currencies because they don't want to be tracked and traced. You are being tracked and traced everywhere that you go. Everywhere that you go. The other side of it is we already live in a digital economy. We already pay with our card, with our phones, with our watches, with PayPal, with Apple Pay. You get the idea. Having to create another layer of that on top of it and then having to swap into it is completely nonsensical. It just literally doesn't make any sense, especially when everything is already tracked and traced. Roll said the central bank digital currency rules should be ready to be enforced sometime within the next 2 years. He said, we foresee a process where all the central banks will eventually be in that space, and they will be required to provide their customers with access to the central bank digital currency. That's if they even decide to actually use it. This is crazy. I had no idea that that's what it looked like. The photo on the screen is of the Central Bank of the Bahamas. This looks like a condominium. Like, this looks like a place where like 8 people live. Anywho, I thought this one was great simply because why are you trying? Like, there's so much money and so much effort being put into things that people don't want. Governments are terrible at spending money. And then you look at infrastructure and you look at all these other things and you're like, why didn't you fix that instead? Because I can only imagine the news that we were getting years ago. This is why a lot of times when you hear that governments are lightly bending the knee and creating stable coins on XRP or on Ethereum, it's huge. Because years ago, they were all trying to create their own blockchains, their own coins. Same exact thing with JP Morgan coin. The issue is that they weren't interoperable because they were all creating it on completely different systems. And then when they were creating something, they weren't actually, no one was using it. Like and we also had in the news that multiple times these governments were spending millions upon millions of dollars to research these things as to if they should do it. And magically they all came to the same corrupt conclusion. Of course, we should be creating a new form of digital money that no one wants. And you sit there and you think, like, what could those $5 million have gone to? Building roads, building houses. And that also drags me right back to the people from Tron spending $100 million on BitTorrent. Do people not know how to use money or how to, like, make things better? Would you spend $100 million on BitTorrent? Anywho, that's the Bahamas central bank digital currency that no one is using. Now they're trying to get banks to literally have to use it to give it to other people news. Or you can just not. Okay. How do people get out of here? These cars are parked next to the building. You would need these other cars in front of you to leave. What? Is this a real photo? Wow. Okie dokie. Let's move on. Also in extremely, extremely weird news. So remember how at the beginning of the year when the Bitcoin ETFs launched and then prices were going up, but like first they were going down and then like down, and everyone was like, what the funk and waggles is going on here? And then we found out it was because of Grayscale. So allegedly, well, rather, here's the news. The news that we got was that Grayscale had been given the thumbs up to convert their fund into an ETF. And apparently, allegedly, whateverly, the information was that they were selling Bitcoin on behalf of people who had Bitcoin with them in their trust. The issue is that people would have kept Bitcoin in their trust because their trust was an ETF in all but letters, literally had the same exact format. They bought Bitcoin on behalf of people. And these people basically had like Grayscale Bitcoin stock, if you want to say it that way. Grayscale, while other competitors continued to lower their fees, when you do anything, you know, there's always a fee that you have to pay. Other companies' fees were 0.15%, 0.25%. Some of them even had 0% fees until the first couple billion got into the fund. Grayscale kept theirs at 2.5%, which led me to scratch my head, and apparently no one else reported on this. No one else had a problem with this, because I was like, why are their fees so high? If you lowered your fees to 0.1%, I bet you people would stop selling and the market would go back up. But alas, they kept their, and I think their fees are still that high. 2.5%. Even weirder, here's a crazy one. It was announced about 10 days ago that upon the, what do you call it? The starting of the Ethereum ETFs, that apparently BlackRock and Grayscale have also been given the thumbs up, but no one knows exactly when. I think they're not in the first batch of 5 companies that have been given the go-ahead. The other ETFs have fees of 0.12%, 0.15%, 0 point something percent as well. Do you know Grayscale's fee for their Ethereum ETF? 2.5%. Why? It's incredibly weird. Incredibly weird, because it's literally causing manipulation in the market. The news that we're getting now again, which apparently is launching now, is that a couple of months ago, when prices were going down explicitly because of Grayscale, they came forward and they were like, yeah, they said this. They said, we are going to lower the fees for our ETF when the market matures. And I was like, what the fudge does that mean? Just do it right now. You are literally causing people to lose money. Then they said, in response, since our fees are so high, something's weird with Grayscale. I have no idea what's going on. And then they said, in response, what we're going to do is we're going to create another Bitcoin ETF. Does anyone remember this? They were going to be creating a mini Bitcoin ETF, like a literal MINI, a mini Bitcoin ETF. And that's where we are right now. I don't understand what's happening with Grayscale. Grayscale Investments has confirmed that the Grayscale Bitcoin Mini Trust is set to be introduced on the 31st of July. This move follows the company's application filed with the US SEC in March for a low-cost investment product. Just lower your freaking fee for the other one. The forthcoming Bitcoin Mini Trust is anticipated to have a fee significantly lower than their Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which manages approximately $28 billion in assets. Designed to offer a competitive edge in the market, the Bitcoin Mini Trust will feature fees that are going to be capped at, have a maximum 0.15%. Tell me why they couldn't do this in March. Every other company, all other 8 companies, had fees less than 0.5%. Grayscale's trust still has a 2.5% fee. According to news that we saw before, their Ethereum trust still has a 2.5% fee. Why are they launching a mini trust? Months ago, the reason why they said they were launching a mini version is because they wanted more people to have access to it. Now you sit there and you scratch your head and you go, the idea is that if there's a Bitcoin ETF and per share, let's say per share is $200 to be able to buy into it, they want to basically make a way. I'm not joking. This is nonsense. They want to make a way for people to be able to buy like $15 worth of Bitcoin at a time or $7 worth of Bitcoin at a time. You know where you can also do that? On Coinbase, on Kraken, on Gemini, on Binance. Making it one of the most cost-effective Bitcoin ETFs available. This fee structure positions it favorably against industry competitors like Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, who charge 0.19 and 0.2, yada, 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 so on and so forth. Something is very weird with Grayscale and something is very weird with Coinbase. I've been saying it for years. I don't know what it is. And if you don't, you need to have like a proper conversation with yourself. It's the same exact thing where, for those of you who missed it, I think 90% of the Bitcoin ETF issuers in the United States, what's the word? They're using Coinbase as their custody solution. The problem is that the US SEC rejected Bitcoin ETFs for over a decade because they said, and I mean, and I'm paraphrasing here, it's not decentralized enough. You need to make sure that you have counterparty risk, that you're not doing everything by yourself. You have to have multiple institutions. So someone who takes the money, someone who gives you the money, someone who sends the money somewhere else, someone who custodies the coins. It has to all be different so that there's no gigantic risk in any given way, yada, yada, yada. So when you look at that and you see the lie, because Coinbase is being used by all of them, what happens if Coinbase goes down? What happens if Coinbase, you know, that's a huge amount of risk. And it's the same exact thing with Grayscale. My idea for it was they sued the SEC and won. I assume somebody behind the scenes told them, they were like, you can have this ETF, but you better not lower your fees. Like everyone else is going to come before you, and you better take whatever crumbs you can get off the table. Because there is no way. Imagine you're standing at a food festival. I don't know. You're selling food somewhere with a bunch of other stands next to you. You all get there. Everyone's selling funnel cake. I love funnel cake. Everyone's selling funnel cake for $2.50. I'm doing 2.5%. You look over, their funnel cake is 19 cents. Theirs is 21 cents. Theirs is $1. Theirs is 50 cents. You don't go, this is fine. This is great. Like you lower your price the same as every other company's doing. You don't have to create a new ETF to have a lower fee. And I swear to goodness, if they do the exact same thing for Ethereum, something's fishy, like something is actually up. If they don't lower their fee for their ETF, and then Grayscale, let's see, July, August, September. If in September Grayscale announces that they're not lowering their ETF fee for Ethereum and that they're going to be launching a brand new Ethereum mini trust with a 0.15% fee, something's up. Because that means you intentionally waited for prices to cascade down as people were selling from your other funds, hoping that some of that money would slosh into your ETF. Anywho, something is up. I feel this way all the time. A lot of stuff in this space. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's moving money. I don't know what the mindset is, but something's amiss. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Their trust is going to be launching on the 31st of July. Let's say August. Also, once again, beginning of September. We should have proper news as to how popular this is, how many people are using it. Are normal people buying it? I hope not, because if you want exposure to Bitcoin, you just buy Bitcoin. If you want exposure to gold and silver, you buy gold and silver. You don't buy a paper version of it. It literally doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. It's incomprehensible, completely, absolutely, why people keep pretending that this is the only way to acquire this asset. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. What is this building? And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.